Star Trek is returning to the era of the original Star Trek movie with Star Trek the Motion Picture Echoes. That's what we're talking about in this episode of Legends of Podcasting. Now, joining me here in the Wave Rider is...
Just Rob, because Stu and Ross don't like Star Trek.
It's just... And I'm Liam. Yeah. And I mean, we're the cool ones anyway.
we grew up on the best stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So let's jump into it. So this is a new comic book series that's coming from IDW Publishing. It's going to be written by Mark Guggenheim, who was the one of the co-creators of the Arrow and DC's Legends of Tomorrow TV series from the CW. And the series is going to take place immediately after the end of the 1979 Star Trek movie.
Right.
So it's interesting, the idea of setting it back then, you know, because we've had comics in the past, Star Trek comics, which revisit the original Enterprise crew. I say original, from the original series. Obviously, we now know there were crews of the Enterprise before them. But it's interesting, an idea of setting it immediately after that one. So I'll start off. Let's do a quick little recap, a quick reminder. There's been so many Star Trek movies at this point. So let's do a quick little recap of what was that first Star Trek movie. So Star Trek the Motion Picture is a science fiction film released in 1979, directed by Robert Wise and based on the television series Star Trek. The story is set in the 23rd century and follows the crew of the USS Enterprise as they embark on a mission to intercept a massive alien entity that threatens Earth. The film features many of the iconic characters from the original Star Trek series, including Captain James T. Kirk, Mr. Spock, and Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. The crew is reunited after several years, and they must work together to solve the mystery of the alien entity, which has already destroyed several Klingon vessels.
Oh no! Not
As
the Klingons.
not the end. I love the Klingons. As the Enterprise approaches the entity, they discover that it's a sentient machine called V'Ger, which was once a NASA spacecraft that went missing 300 years earlier. V'Ger has evolved and is now seeking its creator, whom it believes to be a god. The Enterprise crew must find a way to communicate with V'Ger and prevent it from destroying Earth in its quest for answers. The film was praised for its impressive special effects and score, but criticized for how its slow pacing and lack of action. Nevertheless, Star Trek the Motion Picture remains a beloved classic among fans of the Star Trek franchise, and its success led to numerous sequels and spin-off television shows.
That's a brave way of saying it was fucking weird and no one really understood what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, it was. You'd had Star Wars had come out like around that time as well. I think people were expecting the high action kind of thing you got with that, and I believe Star Trek got the motion picture. It got a bunch of real negative like nicknames. Because of just how slow paced the movie was. I gotta say, I mean, you like me, we've seen all the Star Trek movies. Which of the Star Trek movies is your least watched?
Least watched of the? Well,
yeah,
we're talking the original 6.
I've rewatched them all many times, but which one is the one that you probably don't go back to rewatch?
Well, I was going to say we're talking a classic Kirk era. Yeah, not the TNG movies. So yeah, I'd say probably motion picture. Yeah, I don't think that's been out the case.
Exciting afterwards.
Yeah. Well, you go from motion picture to Wrath of Khan. You know, there's a reason why they ripped that off for bloody Into Darkness, because it's the best damn movie. It's
yeah, Wrath of Khan's bloody brilliant. I mean, that's probably my favorite of the original movies. I think that followed by Undiscovered Country. For me.
Undiscovered, that's the one with the plot to kill the Klingon Chancellor? And yeah, because that's the other one.
With loads of Klingons, and it has Worf before he's Worf.
It was directed by the same guy that did 2, so of course it's got the same kind of political intrigue done well, you know.
Yes, done very well. So yeah, interesting. I mean, another little fact, with that Star Trek movie, when it was released, it wasn't actually finished. when they released it. So because like some of the special effects, despite the fact they were praised, the special effects weren't fully finished. It's just that they had said a release date early on. They were like, the movie's going to be released. It was something like December 8th or something like that. And they had to stick to it, and they were getting close to it, and the movie wasn't finished, but they're like, well, we've got to stick to that date. So it was released. And recently there's a director's edition, or I think it's called director's edition, or maybe director's cut, but I think it's director's edition of the movie got released, which it only adds like, I think like 4 minutes onto it. It's not about adding in a whole bunch of deleted scenes, but it's about finishing the movie properly, like doing it the way that he wanted. So it's a lot of tightening up on the pacing of things, using some alternate shots.
Have they used the same technology they used to do the remastered original series to bring some of the special effects out again? Because I don't know if you've seen the remastered.
I don't know.
Have you seen any of that remastered the TOS? Yeah.
Yes.
Like
the original series remastered, it looks and sounds beautiful. So yeah, I've gone through that, and it's never looked and sounded so good. Like I absolutely love it. It was really enjoyable, really worth. So any listeners, you're a fan of Star Trek and you haven't watched the remastered original series, I think if you're in America, I believe it's all available on Amazon Prime. That's where I watched it. It's probably still there. If not, it's definitely on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
So you can watch it all on there.
Yeah, another streaming service to fork out for if you want to watch something you used to watch in your youth. Yeah, that's
yeah.
Goddamn.
But I don't know. It's worth seeing. Even if you've seen the original series once, I'd say watching it again, this remastered version, is well worth it.
So I mean, it's interesting that this is going to pick up then this new comic straight after the first movie. I mean,
yes.
I'm assuming then the plot is going to tie into what happens in the film.
So this is what we know from the well, they've been released so far from IDW Publishing. It says when a space anomaly thrusts a criminal mastermind pursued by a very determined pilot on a mission into our universe, the Enterprise must stop them from unintentionally starting a war with the Romulans and unleashing a superweapon of foreign technology into the system. But things get infinitely more complicated when these newcomers to our reality remove their helmets, revealing that they're doppelgangers of our beloved heroes. Okay. So there's a
mirror universe going in there, maybe?
I guess. So there's a bit more information here. It says, despite watching the occasional fragment of a Star Trek episode here and there. Oh, no. Hang on. I mean, this is just an interview with a person with Mark Guggenheim, I think. It's what I'm reading on a bit less. But so the end of the synopsis is that. So that's what we know so far about it.
So that would be the echoes of the title. Then is that they're shadows? So that, like I just said, that immediately leads me to jump to the mirror universe, which is a thing that exists in this. There's also the possibility that it could be. Oh, what do they call it? The Chris Pine alternate timeline.
Yes, but then
Kelvin universe. Yeah,
Kelvin.
Yeah,
Kelvin universe. The thing on that, they wouldn't necessarily be doppelgangers because they don't look the same.
They're supposed to be the same character. I guess
they're supposed to be the same character.
That, but it's like, yeah.
But no, that's an interesting idea. What if they do actually do this as a crossover between the Kelvin timeline and the
I do think there was a comic. I never got around to buying the damn thing, so I ran out of money back when it came out. But it was intended to be a crossover between the two timelines. But I never got around to buying that. So I don't know if that would lead into this, or if this is going to be Mirror Universe. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that the Mirror Universe starts really when it's in TNG, isn't it? When do we first see them? Because it's the Defiant that goes back in time and ends up becoming the splintering event that causes the Mirror Universe. I'm going to get completely slaughtered in the comments now from any Trekkies that know what's going on. But and then it's the technology from that causes the Empire to split or something, or can't remember how the Mirror Universe kicks off now, but the evil Mirror Universe counterparts.
So the Mirror Universe is a recurring concept in the Star Trek franchise. It first appeared in the original series episode Mirror Mirror.
Oh, so it is TOS.
So in that episode,
of
Captain
course,
Kirk,
there's Spock and all that with a beard and.
Yeah, evil.
How could I forget?
They're transported to a parallel universe where the characters have evil counterparts.
Yes.
And the Terran Empire is the dominant power.
That's the one.
Yeah. So, is this...
Well, this is because the motion picture takes place at the end of TOS's run, so they would know about the Mirror Universe, so it could be those characters
and the Mirror
again.
Universe also knows about them.
Yeah.
Now, one of the... I believe this is a variant cover. Yeah, they've got a number of variant covers to go with this comic. One of them shows the person from the Mirror Universe who's wearing a helmet, so before he revealed who they are, has got Spock in a headlock. So that could lean in favor of it being, maybe this is the evil Mirror Universe Enterprise people. Maybe.
I think because I'm more familiar with it coming out of TNG, because I grew up with TNG and the DS9. So I remember from when DS9 crew eventually got over into the Mirror Universe, it was Kirk and going into the Mirror Universe that caused the Terran Empire to fall apart, because they ended up introducing democracy, because righteous sort of thing that they did back in the 60s, and by that point the Terran Empire's kind of fallen apart a bit. So yeah. Okay. Curious to see what they're going to lead with this. Or if they'll even... So, it's bizarre then that they're putting us in the end of the motion picture.
Yeah, that's the thing that's interesting, is the timing of it. I feel like this is something that could work pretty much anywhere from what we know of it at the moment, it could work anywhere in the Star Trek continuity. And they've had a bunch of... they've been doing Star Trek comics for... God knows how long. So since Star Trek first came out, probably. So this seems like, from what we can see for it so far, a story that could really fit in anywhere. But I wonder if there is a specific tie-in that means that this makes sense for this to happen after the first movie and before Wrath of Khan.
Sure.
I wonder if there is something specific that's going to go on there.
Well, the only thing I can think of would be V'Ger, if it's a piece of super technology that's thereafter, or it being 2023, maybe ChatGPT. They've upgraded it from V'Ger to ChatGPT is the piece of tech that goes wandering off. Yeah.
So So yeah. Oh no, it's interesting. Well, one thing's for sure, I am going to go back and I'm going to watch Star Trek: The Motion Picture now.
that's the long plan all along.
That was their plan all along.
What happened in the motion picture? Yeah, I'll go watch the movie again. Oh look, we've got this new Blu-ray edition that's just come out with these special features. Maybe you should buy that.
Buy it now. Yeah. So no, it's interesting. I've read lots of Star Trek comics. I've got a bunch of them actually just down here, just by my desk at the moment. I even have...
Oh, he's gone. For those of you watching, those of you listening on the audio stream, Liam just walked off camera to go and get a pile of Star Trek.
An old Star Trek annual here as well, which I thought was cool. So anyone who listens in America, in England, we love to release annuals tied into any TV show that's popular at the moment, and this was annual that was as seen on the BBC.
God's sake. With the old logo from back then, as well.
Yeah, but it's basically it's just a big Star Trek comic is what it is. But this is my oldest one I think I have. But I've got a whole bunch of Star Trek ones there, loads of crossovers.
That's the weird thing. Now you've got me going. I'm gonna have to go and buy a bunch of the Star Trek comics I haven't read, because I know there was the Doctor Who Star Trek crossover, which Matt Smith's Doctor turning up on the Enterprise, which is...
Yep, I got that one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's any good, but
it's fun. I've got a Star Trek and Green Lantern crossover.
Right.
I've got Star Trek and there's loads. There's loads of them. I think I have a Star Trek and Transformers crossover somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that doesn't end with the Enterprise turning into a gigantic robot, I'm going to be so disappointed. Japan would like.
What was the point in the crossover?
Japan would like to know your location. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a. So I think this is cool. Certainly interested to check this out. So this is going to be released. I think first issue. Let me see here. It comes out in a couple of months, I think. In May. So issue 1 goes on sale in May. Don't have any more specific on that. It's going to ship with multiple variants, including cover A by Jake Bartok, cover B by series artist Oleg Chudakov, and retailer incentive variants by Luke Sparrow and Rod Rice.
Cool. So, I mean, if there are any Trekkies lurking in chat, I know this is although Legends of Podcasting talks about all things geek, if, we don't do Star Trek a lot, but if you'd want to hear us talk about this once it's been released, we could add it to the podcast roster. Shout us up in chat. Tell us if you want to hear us talk more about it. Or Star Trek in general, because me and Liam have got a lot to say about Star Trek, which Ross and Stu don't want to hear.
Yeah. Yes, we're definitely the bigger Trekkies in the on the Wave Rider.
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, I'm hearing mixed things about Picard season 3. Picard season 1 and 2 were not worth my time. So
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was it was very different. To very different in tone to what the Next Generation was. So if you went into it thinking we were going to get like more of a Next Generation kind of feel, it's it's matured a lot, shall we say? There's
a difference between mature and vulgar. It's just
Okay. Well, did you like Star Trek Discovery?
No. It was terrible. I tried to watch the opening episodes. Is it like when you've got what's her name, Georgiou, the captain that's originally there before she dies? Spoilers. So I got through. I tried to watch that at least 3 times and couldn't get through it. I eventually forced myself to watch the entire first season, and I'm never going to get that time back again. So that was bad, man.
I feel like the first season of Discovery, it was very different to what we'd seen before. I didn't like the redesign of the Klingons, for one. But you could see that it was clearly big budget. So there was clearly much more budget behind this than we'd had on any other Star Trek show before that. And they were certainly going to give it more of a movie kind of feel. Similar kind of vibe to what we got from the Kelvin Timeline Star Trek movies. So it, kind of fits in with that. And it's something that modern audiences are going to be more looking for. And so I thought that the first season, I did enjoy it. I always felt like it was a little bit off. I always felt like it wasn't really Star Trek. Because it has such a different feel to the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and even Enterprise. It has a very different feel to those shows. But, stuck with it. I did enjoy it. And I really feel that it took just a couple of seasons to kind of find its legs. So I almost feel like it was the first several seasons were just set up for the show, and then we finally hit a point. Really, it's when they end up in the distant future where no man has gone before, and no person has gone before, and that's when I feel the show kind of like that's where it really stands out, and it stands good because then you're off in an era in the distant future. Nothing from the current time, the current continuity matters because you're so far disconnected from it at that point that it gives a lot more freedom, and I thought that was cool.
Well, that's always been that was my issue when I first heard Discovery was being announced, and it was, we're going to be doing another prequel set in between Kirk and TNG, and it's like, well, you've only got so much time to compress everything in. You've already got Enterprise, and you've already got all the other stuff that fits in that timeline as well, and it's like, well, you're going to run out of stuff to do, or you're going to introduce something.
This actually takes place before the original series.
What's that?
No, it's not between Kirk and Next Generation.
Oh no, that's what I mean.
This is between Enterprise and.
Sorry, yeah, I meant. Oh, that's what I meant to say. That's an even shorter period of time if you're going from when, you have Enterprise that covered the initial first 4 years of the first Enterprise ship, and then you've got Kirk. It's very and it's
in between. You've got someone in between. There's another captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah, okay. I haven't watched any of that yet either. So
Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
See that fits all in there.
That's what I mean. And then you got Discovery, and you just putting all the stuff in, but you run the risk of, like you say, bumping into the continuity of stuff and causing problems that will cascade out. Like you end up with Discovery looking all flash and modern on the bridge. I appreciate they kind of answered that by saying it was a prototype ship with the spore drive. And it was
like that was one of the things when they started off, and you're like, hold on, this is before the original series, and technology is vastly superior. Or like, you guys got to reel this in. Like, this should have just been in the future to begin with.
But I mean, talking about the general state of Star Trek from what I can remember of the shows, like after the DS9 with the Dominion War and the Federation's in tatters, and then you've got Voyager coming back with all of their stuff to bring to the table. There's so much you can do after Voyager, so why do you have to keep setting new shows in that gap in between and trying to retcon everything? It just doesn't work. It's you gone? You've dropped your sound.
I'm here. I agree with you.
Sound dropped out for a minute.
You could have put it. There's stuff to do after Voyager, so I think it's nice that they've now stuck Discovery into the far distant future. It also leaves space open because they're so far away. You can still do a new show after Voyager, because you've still got all that room, and you're not gonna have to worry about anything with Discovery because it's so far away. But yeah, there you go. All right, I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, not really a lot to talk about with the comic there. It's interesting they're going to bring something out going back to the motion picture. That's the hook that's dragging me into reading this at the moment, is that why have they set it at that particular point? Why is it not anywhere in the TOS's original run? What's the reasoning for that? Hopefully there's something behind it. So
yeah, and interesting that it's the co-creator of Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow that is the one behind this comic series. So he's clearly got a story that he wants to tell. So
if Legends of Tomorrow show up, like the Wave Rider just crashes into the bridge, it's going to be like, okay, this is a backdoor crossover, isn't it? It's just
you know what? Now you've said it. If they don't turn up, I'm going to be disappointed. So let me just see here if there's any other. There's a little soundbite here just from before we wrap this up. So from Mark Guggenheim says, when everything in life feels like it's moving too fast towards the future, it's always important to step back and revisit where it all came from. And that's exactly what we're doing with this comic, focused on the Star Trek The Motion Picture time frame. That's the series editor, Heather Antos, not Mark Guggenheim. And she hints that this series could include connections to other current IDW Star Trek comics. No one knows more about this period in Trek history than Guggenheim. We've learned. And we could think of no one better suited to take Kirk and his crew on this wild adventure. Paired with Chudakov's energetic, character-driven inks, this is one mission that the crew of the Enterprise soon won't forget. Oh, and did we mention that there are possible Easter eggs to some of our other Trek books too? So, yeah, there we go. All right, well, that's it for this episode of Legends Podcasting. Just like Rob was saying, let us know in the comments what you think about this, what you think of Star Trek in general, and if you'd be interested in us doing more episodes on Star Trek and Star Trek related properties. Let us know in the comments. Tell us what you want. It'd be always great hearing from you guys and girls. So yeah, don't forget to click that subscribe button. This podcast is available on all good podcasting platforms. So wherever you listen to your podcast, wherever you found it right now, click that subscribe button. And if you watch it on YouTube, hi. And you can also watch this on YouTube. Click that subscribe button. All right, that's all from me.
That's it from mine. Live long and peace out.
Yeah, live long and peace out.
Yeah, proper Trekkie I am, yeah.